Hey, there he is. How is Jim?
Doing well, thanks. How are you, Grant?
I'm doing all right. Just swap some microphones over. A bit of a late start. We had a bit of some technical issues, but we are good to go. How is Jim?
Oh man, I'm doing great. I actually made some time today to go sit by the pool.
That is a great idea. Weirdly, here in the UK, despite being July, it is incredibly cold. You could tell me it would be October, and I would believe you. It is grey, it is cold, it is miserable. So I didn't spend any time by the pool today.
You know, we have very similar. It's funny because we're supposed to be like that next week. So
Yeah.
we just never really know. People say, summer in Seattle. I'm like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
Never really.
it is not good at all. So yeah, speaking of grey and miserable, we've got a guest tonight.
Not good. Yeah, great and miserable. Yes, I mean sometimes we got to bring in international guests, other international, because of course we're an international group here, and sometimes we go towards Canada.
Canada, center of the universe after the UK, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Please bring him on. Please bring on the amazing, the incredible Richard Cole.
There he is.
Well, hey, hey, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good and great to have you on.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm just making sure my connection is okay. We've had some solar flare activity here in Canada, and so wanted to make sure you could see me clearly, you can hear me clearly. I look okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not too bad. There's only so much the lighting can do.
Richard, did you have pool weather today?
We did have pool weather. It would have been 32 rest degrees the rest of the world. I don't know what that is in the US.
I'll guess 80. I'm going to guess 80. I don't know.
Sure. It was hot. I made grilled cheese sandwiches for my wife today on our driveway, and she enjoyed that. It was good. Yeah, I don't really have a pool body, but if I had a pool, I could lay around the pool. I mean, they'd probably call like an exterminator for a sea walrus on the loose or something, but I don't know.
Walrus.
Yeah, right.
So speaking of stuff, you are going to be at Hypno Thoughts in, how long is it? 2 weeks now?
Yeah, it's the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd in Las Vegas. I'll be there. I'll be there doing a talk, and I will be meeting some good friends. And some old friends, and hopefully making new friends. I love Hypno Thoughts. It's a great conference to go to, and the vibe is really warm and welcoming, and it's a lot like Canada there. It's just like everybody loves everybody, and it's great.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So look, we've got Sean. Sean is watching. SK Hypnosis says it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Where he's at, though, it's probably like minus 20. Who else is watching? Let us know where you're watching. Let us know if it was pool weather for you today. Sorry, go ahead, Grant.
I was going to say, at Hypno Thoughts, I believe you're doing a presentation.
I am. Friday, I believe it's Friday at 4:30 p.m. I'm doing a talk on skit creation. It's called Instead of This, Do the Other Thing. And so, yeah, it's kind of skit creation for not so creative stage hypnotists, which you two are not members of. You two are fantastic performers, and you can come up with ideas left, right, and center. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun and an interesting technique. It's a tool belt that people can add so that they can make up skits on the fly.
Yeah, wow. It's a great thing. It's one of the things that I've found quite interesting is, like, for me as a performer, as a creative, creating new stuff can be a challenge sometimes. And I hold my hand up. I have had people write skits for me in the past, because sometimes it's, if somebody's good at writing comedy or somebody's good at doing skits, then pay that person to do your job. I'm not very good at plumbing. So if my toilet gets blocked, as much as I may want to try and fix that myself in order to save a few bucks, I would sooner get a professional in to do that job as well. And so getting professional advice is so important for skit creation.
We should say too, Richard does some coaching for stage hypnotists, stagehypnotistcoach.com. And, having taken his class last year, I can tell you it was really valuable information. I have a question for you though, Richard.
Go ahead.
What would you say? Because I think one of the fears that many of us, at least me, run into when I'm writing a new skit is, oh no, I know these other skits work. What if I put this in and it fails? And then they all pop out of hypnosis. The crowd riots and strings me up and I never work again. What would you say to those?
Well, if you're afraid, people are going to pop out of hypnosis because your skit bombed, you might want to take a bit more training. Or that's a good opportunity to perform some instant inductions and put them right back in. One of the scariest things is to do something new, especially for us established hypnotists. We've got our own show, and we become comfortably complacent. Yeah. And we will do whatever we need to do to justify that. We'll say, I'm not going to change his show up because it's working. I got all my music cues. Everything's good. And I always take a tip from the comedians, some of the comedians that I had worked with in the past. They would put a new bit in between two really good bits. Yeah. So like if you had a really killer joke and another really killer joke, you kind of put the new one in and you'll know right away. You'll know right away if this is going to work, and if it's not going to work, let's pull the plug and move on to the next one. So like if you're apprehensive about throwing in a new skit, put it between two, let's call it a new skit sandwich, right? And so that you're bookending it with two good skits. People generally, when they watch a show, they generally remember what's funny, what really stood out, what's quirky. They don't necessarily remember something terrible. Like if you yourself go to a comedy club, and do you remember the funny jokes, or do you remember the ones that bombed? Right. You are always telling your neighbor across the road the funny ones that you heard, because if it's a professional, it was just smooth as butter and you didn't even notice. Maybe it was just a downbeat breath. So try to put the new stuff in the middle and do it, and just do it. The worst thing that happens is you find out it doesn't work. The best thing that happens is you now have something new. You have something new that you weren't even thinking about before.
Awesome. Thanks, Richard.
No problem.
It's speaking of that talk, it's a talk I would love to go and see myself. What day and time is your talk?
I just want to make sure. I think it's Friday at 4:30 p.m. I believe.
Perfect. And what room is that in?
That is in King Louis the First, or I guess Louis the First's room. I don't want to confuse it with Louis the Second.
No, there'll be no space in that room.
Yeah. Whatever's happening in Louis the Second at 4:30, it's going to be packed.
I must admit, it was cool. Both me and Jim have said, "Oh, it'd be great to get Richard on to talk about this talk." I'm like, brilliant. And then I was going through the details about them. I'm like, conflicted. But no, do you know what? I think I think the skit creation it's got to be a priority for most guys that are performing shows.
Not just skit creation, coming up with ideas, but new skit creation, right? Yeah. Coming out with new skits, things that people have never seen before, right? Yeah. And so we need to train ourselves on how to think differently, think in two different ways, laterally and literally. Laterally is kind of like abstract creative thinking, and literally is like what it really is, but how else can you use that, right?
Yeah.
That sort of thinking is important.
Yeah.
I'll tell you too is, and when you do create something of your own, and people laugh at it, oh, it's just magical. And going back to what you said about comedians, comedians get better at their craft the more jokes they write. So I've got to think the more skits you write, the more bits you write, the better show you're going to create overall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, always. I agree.
And I think a great way of looking at it is, the chances of you writing a skit or a routine that is going to make you go viral on TikTok and the world is going to love you based on that one skit routine, the chance of that being your first one that you write is very, very, very slim. But it might be the 15th skit that you write that be the one that actually sets you aside from everybody else and makes you a world-class performer. But you've got to get that first one done first. You've got to go through the reps before you get to the one where you go, right, now I know why that's funny, and then it becomes funny.
Yeah, it's like Jim said before. He said, what if they're nervous to do it? You just have to do it. Set yourself up for, at the worst, just a brush off. At the best, it's a win. But you gotta get those jokes in. You gotta get the new skits in. You gotta practice them. And another tip. I'll just barf out all these tips. Is to videotape. Like videotape your show, at the minimum audio tape it, or audio record it. If you can videotape it. It doesn't need to be for sale. You don't need to sell it. Just set your camera, your phone off to the side and videotape yourself, because all three of us know that during our show something funny has happened. Something funny, unplanned has happened, and we finished the show and it was so funny when that happened. What happened to set that up? How can I recreate that? Right. Yeah. And it's generally gone. You got to rewind and you got to check it, but you got to be doing it. You got to be, my friend, Big Kevin, I call him that because he's tall. He calls me little Ricky. Cause anyways, he says,
little Dick.
Yeah. Okay.
Dick is Dick is of course short for Richard in some places.
Of course it is. Yes, it is. And that's the first time I've heard that. Gee, I better write that down. That's a new joke.
In third grade. In third grade, you mean?
And so Big Kevin, he would say, because I'd always be throwing out these jokes, and some of them were so stupid and corny, and he'd go, well, at least you're throwing out 9 jokes to find that one that's funny.
You have to, though.
And you do.
As a comedian too. When I was a comic, that's what you're doing. You're constantly throwing stuff out there and seeing if they pick it up or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's the same for psychics. Psychics, whether you believe in that stuff or not, they've got so many things they throw out a load of stuff, and some things hit and some things don't. The audience remembers the things that hit. You entertain that audience, they remember the jokes that were funny. They're not going to necessarily know the ones or remember the ones that weren't funny. So they're going to go away thinking they've had a great night, regardless.
Oh, you know what, Grant? Just saying that. We process things that are meaningful and emotion filled for us. So maybe we remember the good jokes because they're funny and they made us feel something. Yeah. Whereas a bad joke, we don't lock it up into our memory because it didn't make us feel anything. Right. Yeah. It's kind of like when you call somebody named Richard Dick and they've heard it a million times. It's like, oh, okay. It just doesn't resonate.
I'm going to try to work. I'm going to try to write some new jokes.
I don't think
I'm going to have to come to your class.
I don't think it's ever going to get boring, that joke, though.
No, I don't think so. And just so people don't People don't go, oh, wow, Richard was really harsh on Jim. I love Jim. Jim's a fantastic guy, and Grant's okay too. And I mean, yeah, I love these guys. They're like my brothers around the world.
Yeah. Do you know, I think that's one of the great things about the conferences. It's one of the things that I've learned from the conferences is the connections that you make really are, you're solidifying like virtual relationships into real friendships. Oh, that was a bit warm and fuzzy.
It was warm and fuzzy.
Shall we hug?
I think we should. I'm actually hugging under the desk now.
Whoa. All right. Taking a different turn. This is
moving on.
We're going to put a mature rating on this one. Hey, if you're out there, are you watching? Who's going to HypnoThoughts? Who's going to HypnoThoughts? Drop it in the links below. Drop it in the comments below. We want to see you there. Hey, and everybody that's going to HypnoThoughts, when you see Grant or I at HypnoThoughts, come by and say hi. Ask for your gift. We have a little something for you.
Something special.
Something special. Yes.
There you go.
Special. You too, Richard. You stop by and say hi and say, Jim, give me something special.
And I'm going to get a warm and fuzzy hug. Is that what's going to happen?
That's the bonus. That's the bonus.
Not everyone gets one of those.
Some of them get a cold and not fuzzy hug.
Awesome.
Great having you on, Richard. Thanks so much for coming and joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always good. I love this. I love this. This format that you have, doing the news, like what's in the news and what's coming up, the conferences coming up, and reports on the conferences. You know, I follow this channel, and it's awesome. It was really good up until today, and
well, when one of the hosts makes an off-color joke, shade joke. I mean, sometimes I'll get canceled now. I'm going to be canceled.
I'll stand there by you and uncancel you. Actually, I think canceling is kind of going out of fashion now. It's been a while since somebody really got canceled. Having said that, we're going to be canceled.
Right.
I do like where comedy's going at the moment. I'm seeing some comedians that are going against that grain of wokeness, but not in an aggressively I'm going to upset people kind of way, but just in here's a funny joke. White people stop being sensitive. It's just comedy. And I think it helps settle people down a little bit that, if you're not hurting somebody, if it's not offending somebody, if it can be done in a humorous way, then that's a good thing. One of the things through crisis, through economic health, all of the things that are going in the world, we can still find things to laugh about and laugh at. I think that's important. Once you take that away, then we've lost everything that I think it is to be human. This is warm and fuzzy. What is in this tea?
Yeah, it is. I think that's so true. Very true, Grant. Very true.
Yes.
Cool. HypnoThoughts, there's going to be some socials. There's a performing hypnosis lunch or dinner, a get together. That'd be cool to see you there. And we've definitely got to do something outside of the conference.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
It's Vegas, baby. I mean, there's lots of stuff we can find to do.
Is there any museums? Something with a bit of culture for a Brit?
Yeah. Art galleries.
Art galleries, that's what I'm looking for. Art galleries. Spoken word poetry.
I haven't heard that in years.
I'm looking for some nice musical theater.
Yeah. With poles.
All right.
I don't care what country they're from. They can be from Sweden. It could be the ABBA concert or something, but yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Cool, Richard. It's been an absolute pleasure. We could just talk all night, which we probably would. So it's been a real pleasure. I cannot wait to touch base and catch up with you in Vegas in a couple of weeks' time. That is going to be great fun. We shall see you then, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Take care, my friends, and I'll see you soon. Love y'all.
Yeah, Richard. Bye-bye. SK
What a
Hypnosis,
cool guy.
Sean Kostiak. We're so sad that you're not going to be able to be there this year. Bummed. But you
Yeah.
will be at the Performing Hypnosis Summit, of course.
Yeah. Now, the Performing Hypnosis Summit, that is, when is that, Jim?
Oh, we've got February 2nd through the 4th, happening, of
go.
course, in Las Vegas at the Orleans Hotel and in
Online.
virtually.
Yep.
Yes.
It'll be a virtual event and an in-person event as well. The virtual side of things is great, but the in-person is just unbelievable. And to get that collective of stage performers together, talking about kind of road stories, about ways to, as we've just seen them from Richard, about enhancing your show and making stage hypnosis better. It's going to be a great event as well. So, and it's just,
Yes.
it is specialized for performance hypnotists. There's no woo-woo reiki stuff. There's no tuning forks, no bowls, no.
As much as we love all those things.
Yeah,
As
I mean,
much as we love
all
all
those
those
stuff
things.
is great.
But there's nothing competing for your attention except for other performing classes. So this is where you go for the specialized conference.
Yeah. So that's going to be really cool. Speaking of Hypno Thoughts, as we've done, you have a talk there, Jim?
11 a.m. on Saturday. I'm not competing with Richard or Grant, although I'm competing with some other fantastic presenters. Not competing at all. We're just up at the same time. Buy the recordings. You'll definitely want to watch all of those. Analyze This is the name of the class. Working with analytical clients.
Analyze This. Ah, there we
Analyze
go.
This. Clever title, I thought. And at course 4:30 on Friday, Grant.
Andrew, my live streaming for hypnotherapists. So for those that won't be with Richard, do come and see me. It's going to be fun. At the very least, it's going to be fun. And it'll just help you kind of level up your live streaming a little bit. Not that you would see that from tonight's show.
I was just thinking that.
There we go.
Usually.
But
I'll tell you. So I took tips from Grant, and now look at mine now. If you go back and look at my older ones, my live streaming is much better than it used to be. So
I was going through some of my old lives the other day, not just the COVID lives, but since before that, through another business that I do, I've realized I've actually been live streaming for about 8 years.
Wow.
And when you look at some of those original ones, they're like oil paintings. The quality is horrific. The sound is terrible. The cameras are shaky. And so now it's about trying to make those a little bit better. But yeah, so Hypno Thoughts, do come see Richard, go see Jim, come and see myself. And if you don't come to the talks, come and see us in the corridors. If you see us out and about on the strip, come and say hello. It's all about the networking. It's about creating those lifelong friendships as well. So I'll happily answer any questions outside of my talk. And Jim and Richard are both the same as well. In fact, if you see Jim at the bar somewhere, then just constantly ask him questions.
Absolutely.
A couple of news items this week. We've got was it 6 Myths of Hypnosis, which looked like a really cool article.
It is. And, it's another one of those things, guys, that you can just share on your page, that just doesn't say, look, I'm the best hypnotist in the world. Doesn't even say you're a hypnotist, but to let people know that you have an interest there. And those myths, it's not just you debunking the myths. This is a university psychology instructor, I believe.
Yeah.
And a team there out of Brigham Young University.
Yeah. What?
Brigham, whatever. Brigham Young. Something. It's the Mormon school out in yeah. Oh wait, Bingham. Wait. Oh, it's a different one altogether. I was thinking it was never mind. It's the Binghamton. Binghamton. Is that? I was totally off on that one. Boy, good thing I'm not getting paid. My pay would be docked today. Oh, that's so funny. I thought sure it was. Yeah. Okay. Good.
But yeah, a great article. And like Jim says, it's one of those that
You're right.
I'm lost now. It's one of those that it's great to share these stories on your social media because it gives you authority by proxy. You know, you're sharing interesting and informative articles about hypnosis, and this is a fairly positive article. I'm still surprised that universities are putting articles out there about these points on hypnosis because it's so bizarre that the world still has these misconceptions about what we do. And so the more stuff you put out there, the easier it is for people to actually realize that we're not mages, we're not Merlins. You know, what we do is actual real change work, real entertainment. So yeah, definitely give that a share as well. And
Yes.
I believe that we've got it's a new hypnosis TV program.
Yeah, or is it? I think a movie actually.
A movie, sorry, yeah, that was it. I've lost the link to that, to be honest. It's the Hypnosis Review, a razor-sharp satire on conformity and relationships.
Yeah, and I'm posting it over in the host chat so you can repost it, Grant.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it's out of Sweden, actually. So unfortunately, until it comes to a streaming service with subtitles, won't be available. I won't be able to watch it, but it looks just cute, clever. And it's not portraying us in a negative way anyway.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's even the stuff that portrays us in a negative way, I believe, isn't always bad. It keeps us front of mind. It helps people think of hypnosis when they wouldn't ordinarily think of it. And so I know there's been a couple of movies that have just come out recently, which are about hypnosis. One of them was quite negative. It was a horror film where they used hypnosis to do some bad things. But all of this still, I think, helps people start asking questions about hypnosis, whether that's good or bad, but it brings the topic of conversation to the forefront. So I think all news is good news. I think the things that does us bad is when someone sees a bad hypnotist or a boring stage show or an ineffective or not very effective one, then that happens. I've just got...
Fair points. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're dropping the links down here on the YouTube channel and over in Hypno News. Grab those links and share them on your pages. Let people know you're a hypnotist. This is one of the things that I teach my students right away. I go over to their Facebook page and I go, you got this real estate here, and there's no indication that you're a hypnotist, a coach, anything like that. Make sure you're using that little bio that you got right there. Say you're a hypnotist. Say you help people in some way.
Yeah. So what do you want to do? Pro tip or funny story, Jim?
Well, I never have a funny story, and neither do you anymore. So maybe Richard has a fun. Oh, you know what? We forgot to ask Richard. I think he's shaking his head. He's nodding his head.
Yeah, we should bring Richard on for the funny story. I think
bring him back on. Yeah, we forgot to ask him.
So for this week's funny story, all the way from Canada,
near Toronto, I believe.
Here he is.
Sorry, me again. Oh, I'm sorry. I was watching musical theater.
Good.
Yeah, very good. So you want a pro tip? You want a tip? You didn't get enough.
Funny story.
Funny story, pro tip, whatever you got.
Funny story. My funny stories. You know what? I'll do a pro tip. I'll give you a tip. This is cool, and I wanted to either write it down or send it out or something. Do something with it. So you guys, I'm premiering it right here. If you're actually, this is a great tip for anybody, and it sounds silly. You know, when you check into a hotel, and they give you the key card, and you get the card. As a traveling hypnotist, I spend a lot of time in hotels as a hypnotist professional. And so a lot of the times I'll go from city to city to city, get new key cards, and sometimes after a show, I might not remember exactly what room I'm staying in that night. Is it 210? Is it 314? Or was that last night? So here's a great tip that I do. And a friend of mine, I years ago, Chris Frolick, and you guys probably have never heard that name. Chris Frolick, he was a hypnotist here in Canada. He's now retired. He loved this tip. So you take your key card from the hotel and you keep it in the little envelope that they give you because it has your room on it, right? And that way, when you get back to the room, you'll be able to go take the key out or get back to the hotel. You go, what room am I staying in tonight, right? Okay. So here's what you do. You take that key card when you leave the room and you put it in your pocket. Not just any pocket. You put it in your right back pocket. Your right back pocket. Because when you think about where you put the key card, where did I put the key to the room? I left the room and I figured I'd be right back.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, that's a good pro tip. That whole key card thing is something that always catches me off guard. I have a terrible memory. And so sometimes I can be in random hotels for work, obviously. And literally I'll get back to the hotel and I'm like, I have no idea what room I am in. And even that you just said about just remembering to keep it in the little envelope with the number on there is something that I often forget to do. The first thing I do when I go in is I take the key cards out, put one in the door thing to switch the lights on, and everything else goes on the side. So that is a great tip. But I do like that right back.
Yep. Now you're gonna know. The next hotel you check into, you'll put it in, and then you're gonna leave the room. You'll grab your key card and you go, oh, that Richard, that Canadian guy, that's right. What did he say? I'm leaving the room and I'm gonna be right back.
And for any pickpocketers watching that are going to be in Vegas, we all now know where Richard's hotel room key is. Awesome. Richard, once again, thank you very much for that pro tip.
Yes.
So we've got to come up with a funny story, Jim.
I got nothing.
I say funny. It's more funny peculiar rather than funny ha ha, as most of my stories are. But I told you the other week that I did a show at the first place I ever did a stage show. I ever saw a stage hypnotist when I was very young, and it was a great honor doing that. On the back of that, they've booked me back for a few more shows over the season, which is great. But it now means that literally I'm down in Cornwall one night, and then I'm up in Bridlington, the opposite end of the country, the next night, and then back down in Cornwall to Trelaw Manor the night after that. And that's now happening about 4 times over the season, where I've always wanted to work in this particular area, and now I'm working in that particular area in the same week on 3 occasions, but with another show in the middle of them, hundreds of miles away. And so when I first took the show in, I was over the moon, because it's like, oh, I'm in Cornwall that week. Oh, I'm in Cornwall when that week. I could stay over. And it's like, oh, no, I can't, because I'm somewhere else in the middle of that. And so it's like my diaries are finally starting to align, and maybe one year they'll line up perfectly, but not this year.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
Hopefully it'll work out.
Yeah. Before we go, just a quick plug for this amazing Hypnosis Success Academy. Sign up for it. If you want to be successful at hypnosis, then you should sign up for this. And it's run by a guy called, the face doesn't look familiar.
Doesn't look familiar. No.
Doesn't look familiar. Oh, is that you, Jim?
Oh my God, that is me. God, I look good. Sometimes I forget how good I look. Wow. Handsome fella.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I've had work done.
Yeah. And there's a group there, live streaming for hypnotherapists. That's my Facebook group. There is going to be an online course going very, very, very soon. Jim is, I'll say he's prodding me. That makes it sound a bit weird. He's holding me accountable.
Yes.
For that. Yes, accountability. Right. Here's an extra pro tip we'll throw in there. Find yourself an accountability partner. Someone that is complementary to your industry, that you can say, here's the things I need to get done. Here's the goals I want to achieve. Hold me accountable to that. I do this for a friend of mine. He's not a hypnotist. He runs another business, but I'm his accountability partner. Jim is my accountability partner. So that's where it's all going wrong.
And I just thought we need to set an actual date on that. And then I just thought of what you could be my accountability partner for.
Yeah. So it just helps when you say, I'm going to do this. And it's okay writing your goals down and saying these things and promising them to yourself, but actually saying to someone, listen, here's what I want to get done this week, this month, and have something in there like a contingency plan. Listen, if I don't reach that goal, then I owe you $100, or I owe you a steak dinner, or something like that, just to kind of, keep the fire in there. So you've got a punishment if you don't do it and a reward if you do it. So accountability partners, I think, are a good thing.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Folks, thanks for watching. Really, it's always a pleasure to come on here. If you'd like to come on and be a Richard Cole, you want to be a guest, we'd love to have you on as well. Love to hear your pro tips, funny stories, anything at all, anything you can add to the world of hypnosis. We want to talk to you, and your events. When you got events coming up that we can plug for you, happy to do that.
Yeah. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be a groundbreaking event. You might not have thought, you might think to yourself, do you know what? I've not created a new protocol. I've not got this, that, and other. Who am I? If you're running a workshop in your local community or area, then come on here and let us know about it. We will share that out there as well. We might get you an extra 2 or 3 eyeballs on your event, but most importantly, you're letting the world know that you're out there and you're doing things as well. This can help you align with people that can align with your goals. So whatever it is you're doing in the world of hypnosis, let us know, and we'll try and let the world know for you. Ciao for now.